Ya wacha tuende kualike mgeni wetu wa leo atuambie is vipi is what is going where in KANU. Vipi Kidi Mwaga?
Yes sir.
Habari yako Jako?
Niko tamu.
Ndio. Wewe iko tamu.
Kabisa. Na chama iko imara.
KANU Jogo iko imara.
Jogo iko imara.
Sisi tulisikia Jogo ilichinjwa mwaka wa 2002.
Not true, because tukienda katika uchaguzi wa mwaka 2022 serikali inayokuja ni serikali ya KANU.
Aya.
Ndio.
Tena?
Si ndio?
Serikali inayokuja ni serikali ya KANU.
Yes.
Mwaka gani?
2022.
Nani atakuwa rais? Hapo ndio kizungumkuti inaanzianga.
Not quite. When I've told you that the next government is a KANU government, that should answer a lot of other questions like who will be the president.
How does it answer? You don't know who is going to be the president, or you guys are second guessing?
Not quite. One thing is that above all else, we are making necessary investment and preparations as a party, right? To make sure that when we are going into that elections, that we are not going into that elections as playing second fiddle to any political formation or any political individual. Yes. So that if and when we have to cooperate, because I do not want to be cocky in this show. I want to be very factual with you and tell you that if political pragmatism may dictate that we go into coalition,
you guys are not ready to go it alone.
Easy.
You have to go into coalition.
No, easy. Okay. As it has been since 2002, then we want to go into a coalition where we are a senior partner, and therefore, because we have all the capacities to go into any coalition as a senior partner. Yes.
So you don't have any plans of going for the presidency yourself? You have to get into a coalition?
Not quite.
Wonderful.
Not quite. I'm saying in the event.
In the event.
In the event.
All right. But serikali itakuwa ya KANU.
Yes. Itakuwa serikali ya KANU. And right now, KANU is not keen to anyone. We are keen on rebuilding ourselves. Yes.
All right. Do you mind introducing yourself? Who is Kidi Mwaga? Anafanya nini? Anatoka wapi? Na amejipata aje vipi hapa?
Kidi Mwaga ni wakili. Kidi Mwaga has had the privilege to serve as a secretary to the ad hoc committee on policy and legal affairs, KANU. And yes, I'm a Kenyan. Yes.
All right. So wewe ni mtu wa KANU?
Kabisa.
Legal affairs in KANU. All right. Good to see you. Mambo ya BBI unaonaje?
BBI, and answering your question in the holistic sense, is that BBI was and is a brilliant idea. But then sometimes people disagree on the implementation. So that I think that to this extent, BBI puts us in a state where we are able to beautify and perfect our governance. Yes.
Okay. So you are in for it?
I support BBI.
You support BBI. Why do you support BBI?
I support BBI because BBI gives us an opportunity to deal with our governance issues and develop homegrown solutions to our governance challenges. What you call autochthonous constitutional model. For instance, when we were enacting the new constitution in 2010, there are things that we experimented with that we took from other jurisdictions that may not necessarily serve as well as a polity. And therefore, having had this constitution for 10 years, we've seen where it works, we've seen places that requires a readjustment. And for me, I think that is the genius of BBI.
Okay. Would you mind listing some of those gains in the BBI that have been outlined?
Yes, I will. One, you realize that one of the biggest gains of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 was devolution. And the framers of the Constitution, in their wisdom, or lack of it, but I suspect it is the former, not the latter, say that let us peg what goes to the counties at 15%.
A minimum of 15%.
A minimum of 15%. But then you realize that in the last 5 years, what we have borrowed goes to about of 5 trillion. But if you look at monies that has gone to the counties, it is to the tune of about 2 trillion. to all the 47 devolved governments. Yes. So that you realize that the failures at the devolved units are because of lack of funds at that unit. Sometimes it is because of delays that, of course, puts governors in an awkward position. These are things that I think BBI is going to help us address, especially when we move the minimum allocation to the counties to 35%.
Have we arrived at 15% yet?
Sorry?
Have we arrived at 15% yet?
We are over and above the 15%. Yes.
In allocation to the counties?
Yes.
Are you sure you've done 15%?
Yes.
Oh, really? I disagree. Anyway, Lucia.
Yes.
Also, before you go, does KANU, your party, KANU, does it support BBI?
My party supports BBI unconditionally.
Unconditionally.
Yes.
Lucia, umesikia maneno ya
without conditions.
Unconditional.
Yes.
I'm kind of trying to find an angle to approach my brother here. You know, he has been very nice to me this morning. I don't want to be nasty.
I know, it's fine. I mean, here we are not in a, yeah.
You know this images of mine. Wanakwanga majirani pale, so sukari na chumvi kiisa.
Na pitania hapa nasema pitisia mimi kwa sengenge.
Kidi ako likely kukua the one mwenye ataniokolea. So there's one thing.
Do you agree that we've done 15% yet on county allocations?
No, I don't think so. The 15% that was being fought for the other day, the other day, I don't think we've arrived. I don't think we've arrived there. I don't think we need the BBI in order to increase county allocations, county revenue allocations. We really don't need the BBI. We don't need the BBI for that. What we need to increase revenue allocation and to ensure that devolution works the way it should work is political goodwill. That is the one thing we need. We need committed public officers. We need ethical leaders. And none of those things have been included in the BBI report, so I'm kind of lost. I'm a bit worried because my brother here is a young person like me. And the fact that the rest of us are trying to fight KANUism and he's in KANU just disturbs me from the beginning. So before we can even go into other things, I'd like to know how to debate you. So I want to debate you on ideologies. Kindly tell me, what are the party ideologies for KANU? Because we are still reeling from the mistakes that KANU made when they were in government. Oh my God, police brutality in this country. Actually, KANU has never gone away. Because look at who is ruling us right now. They are the products of KANU. I'm really concerned. Are you going to be a terrible person the way all the products of KANU have been terrible people? Or is there something new that... I know my friend Oscar Washington Ogwell is in KANU, so I don't know. Is there something new that you people are doing, or are you people just getting into the system of what has been done since before independence and the bullshit and mediocrity of the leaders that have gone through your party? Iyo ndio kitu mnataka kuendeleza, ama there's something new that you're bringing to the table? Kindly inform me, educate me a little.
Asante, my sister Ayiela. I got the name right?
Yes.
Very good. My brother Bitok, are you done adjusting the mic? Sorry.
Sound check.
Asante. Well, thank you, Dr. Ayiela.
Daktari.
Well, leo nimepata cheo.
I'm say daktari.
Mimi si daktari.
Okay, I don't know where I got the title from.
Sikatazangi watu kukula nyama choma.
KANU is the party of the present and future. KANU is becoming a movement of young people. KANU is KANU fresh. But KANU is not some diaper political party. KANU has been there since independence. So that as a party that has been there and has got a longer history, it means that KANU is a political party that you can look at and say that a lot have happened, and here was mistakes, and here they got it right, and whatnot. When we talk about KANU today, you realize that KANU has been out of power for 18 years.
Really?
Yes.
It's been 18 years.
Oh, yes.
That's an entire generation.
That is an entire generation.
Yet here we are.
No, they usually find themselves in government anyway. Gideon is in a coalition with Jubilee.
I think we talk. When I speak, you listen.
Okay, I'm listening.
That you don't distract my train of thought.
All right, please distribute your thread of thought.
KANU has been out of power for an entire generation.
Ah, interesting.
In this entire generation, other people have had the privilege of, having the mantle to govern this country. And we've seen what they have done. As a party, we are saying that we have a past. And we are not running away from that past. In that past, there are things that are not so glorious. And in that past is also not all gloom. There are things that were gotten right. For instance, when KANU was in power, Kenya was an oasis of peace in the region. In the same vein and breath, when KANU was in power, the cost of living had not skyrocketed as it has today. What are we saying? We are saying that today, as a party that has been in power, as a party that has been in the room where decisions are made, as a party that has seen the sacrifices that goes with making those decisions, we are cobbling a coalition of young Kenyans and responding to the needs and challenges of the present. What are those challenges? As a party, we are concerned by the skyrocketing unemployment in this country. For instance, if you look at the World Bank report in 2018, it was saying that unemployment rate in Kenya is twice as bad as in Uganda and Rwanda combined. That is a menace that we must be able to cure as a government when we come to power. So that as a government in waiting, we are putting in place necessary investment that if and when, then young people of this country can ultimately feel that they have a government that is responsive, that speaks to them, that listens to them. Yes.
All right. That's
I don't know if that even in a small way answers your question, Dr. Ayiela.
This guy has really mastered how to finish. He has even called you Daktari.
Yeah, you, my brother,
Yes.
are now sounding like a politician.
Not quite.
Mukinichagua, nitawajengea barabara, nitahakikisha mko na maji kwa tap, nitahakikisha watoto wenu wameenda shule, hata basari mutapata. Wale wenye mnalala njaa, nitahakikisha kwa meza yako kila siku iko ugali kuongire. And then they go out for 5 years. They come back.
Hold your thought.
The same
Hold
thing.
your thought. Hold your
Hiyo
thought.
kwaya tumeisikia before.
Hold your thought.
Yes, Daktari.
When I come here,
Yes.
I must not turn this show into comedy.
Yes.
And as such, I have the obligation of not only being candid with you, but also being factual. At least to the extent that I am permitted to speak for the party.
Yes, exactly. You have all the permissions.
Thank you.
Now I
Easy. Hold your thought. As a party, we've asked ourselves that we have two economic models. The first economic model is trickle-down economics, import substitution model, and then we also have the export-led economy. We are asking ourselves that as a country since independence, we have gone for the trickle-down economics, and we've seen how it's glaring failures. One of its failures is that it breeds billionaires at the top, and it leaves those at the base outside the margins of the economy. And we are asking ourselves, is that right? Is that just?
Very good question.
So that as a government in waiting, we have looked at all that without going into the nitty-gritties and so and preempting the documents that we are working on. I am telling you that as a government in waiting, we have figured out that how do we ensure that we spur, right? The ingenuity of the creative Kenyans who want to work, who are willing to work, but may be lacking an opportunity at the moment. So that we are figuring out that how do we ensure that we give them opportunity to exploit their creativity that then would help them put food on the table and shelter over their head. My sister, that is what a KANU government is going to look like. Yes, in a nutshell, without going into the details. In a nutshell, yes.
The next time I'll need a spokesperson for this studio, I'll look for you.
You realize that KANU first has to apologize to Kenyans for mistakes of the past. Well, before we can even talk about the future.
What I think I did that because I said that we have a past that we are not running away from.
You have accepted. You have
yes,
actually.
Yes. So I think that if we are being genuine in this conversation, you don't pull me down with that.
No,
yes.
yeah, and it's very good that you've agreed that you have a past and you're not running away from.
Yes, we are not.
Yes, which is very good. And when you've said an export economy, I think that's the first ideology that you've spoken about pertaining to your party.
Yes.
Which is a very very strong point,
yes.
and it's a good point.
Yes.
But then how do you plan to restore the faith of Kenyans in your party? Because I remember in 2002 when Moi left. Oh, it's been 18 years. Oh my God, when Moi left power, it was a very very strong call for Moi to go, and Moi, we said Moi must go, and then we forgot about Moism, and it's a common feeling that Moism is entrenched in the KANU party. I'm not saying Moi was a failure. I'm an alumni of Kabarak University. One of the things I adore that old man for is the investment he put in education. He invested heavily in education, and for that I'm always going to be grateful to Moi. But then there's a lot of other negative things that are associated with the man and with the party because of the man. How do we then restore the faith of Kenyans in the party that is KANU? Because right now Kenyans want the Katiba to be implemented effectively and efficiently, not just implemented. You see, so how then? And you see,
okay, let me
the
say
Katiba is implemented effectively and efficiently. A lot of people who are currently in power will have to go to prison. There will be repercussions for that.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Thank you. One thing, I don't think we need to turn this show into an individual, and least of all that should, we should turn this show into a Moi debate. Because
you are just appreciating what he has done.
Easy. I don't think I have the latitude to speak about the former president. But be that as it may, as someone who held public office, who therefore sometimes his name may have to appear in certain things, let me say this, that governance is not a walk in the park. It is also instant coffee. There are difficult choices that have got to be made. In making those difficult choices, a few things must have gone wrong. But then you realize that in 2002, President Moi was willing to midwife smooth and peaceful transfer of power. So that for all his supposed mistakes,
yes,
you must appreciate himself for that.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you've actually picked out the things that he did.
Yes.
But anyway,
he midwifed a smooth transfer of power. He said that is someone who was basically saying that, well, I am a human being. I may have fallen short. My best may not have been good enough. And you, the people,
have decided.
I want to respect that and facilitate respect of your wishes.
Yes, and we need more people, by the way, to appreciate that. Yes. To appreciate the people. We, the people.
Yes.
All right, let's look at the newspapers.
Easy. Before we go to the newspaper, then we have Kenyans giving President President Kibaki had 67, was voted in with 67% of the votes cast. So that the only other thing that came close to that was the new constitution, which passed at 62%. So that there is no presidential candidate that has had the number of votes that President Kibaki had. What did President Kibaki do? He squandered the opportunity at every turn. I am not here to blame President Kibaki. neither would I point fingers at President Uhuru. But we are saying that as a party, we are making, KANU is going to be a party of young people. It is already cobbling a coalition of young people. And when KANU comes to power, young people of this country ultimately are going to be able to smile.
All right, that's nice. Let's that's left to time. Let's wait and see that. Acha tuangalia magazeti. Let's look at the Star. Tuanze na the People Daily. The People Daily inasema new COVID vaccine causes excitement. Pale pia kuna governors engage in heated exchange over BBI proposals. Kuna pale pia governors Faim Twaha, Wycliffe Oparanya and Muthomi Njuki during a retreat for governors in Naivasha yesterday. How Obama drove Biden to White House. That's a discussion we need to have in Africa, by the way. Hapo pia kuna mambo ya vaccine na Agatha hapa alikuwa anauliza the difference between a vaccine and a cure. Ile ya kutibu inaitwa dawa, hii nyingine inaitwa vaccine. Preliminary analysis shows the jab can prevent 90% of people from getting COVID-19, with developers describing announcement as a great day for science and humanity. 63,244, that is total cases in Kenya. 750 recorded positive in the last 24 hours from a sample of 4,316. 42,659 have recovered, 1,130 deaths, 746,797 total tested in this country, Kenya. Gazeti ya Nation inasema Safaricom net profit drops for first time in 9 years over corona pandemic. Only release half year report and they are saying that profits out zilianguka by almost I think over half. Kuna pia hapo get your free copy of 28 page My Government pull out kama unataka mambo ya tenda nini mambo ya serikali, kimbiza pale gazeti ya My Government. Raila yields to Ruto on BBI demands. Ruto yields to Ruto BBI demands, whereas allies of both Mr. Odinga and Mr. President Kenyatta have previously slammed the door shut on any suggestions to reopen the report for amendments. The former PM yesterday promised pastoralist leaders that their concerns will be addressed. Will this pave the way for more changes by politicians and groups? That is on page 5. New vaccine offers of but Kenya cautious. A vaccine jointly developed by US and German pharmaceutical firms was 90% effective in preventing COVID-19 infections in ongoing trials. The companies announced yesterday. The news came as soaring cases across the world forced millions of people back into lockdown, causing further damage to ravaged economies. But the Kenyan government said it is cautiously optimistic about the news. We are cautiously optimistic about the news. Interesting times. Alright, pale pia inasema news mystery of toddlers who drowned in river. Kuna watoto walipotea juzi wawili when 2 boys left home for an evening stroll with their mother a week ago. Nobody suspected anything sinister. Teaser, politician free to apply for asylum. Former MP, God bless Lema. No massive for God bless Lema. Fled this country with his wife and children fearing for his life because of his political stance. In 21st century, we are still fleeing in Africa. You know, quite interesting. Pale pia mambo ya America, Biden rolls up his sleeves as Trump still in denial over poll laws. Trump Barago in denial. He has not accepted. He has not yet accepted defeat. So we are him to see what happens there. Pale pia inasema US President-elect Joe Biden took the first steps towards moving into the White House as Donald Trump again refused to admit defeat and tried to sow doubt about the election results. He also launched a transition website, buildblackbetter.com, and a Twitter feed at transition46. Alright, that's an interesting time to be alive kwa mambo ya kisiasa. Kwa The Star inasema ni The Star headline inasema Raila makes a U-turn on BBI amendments. Ruto welcome Odinga's pledge to amend report before referendum. Pia inasema poisonous Mathenge 3 on Baringo. Kenyans wait until next year for COVID vaccine 2021. Pale pia inasema top coin Wairimu now wants murder charge dropped. Interior Ministry flagged for unlisted births and deaths. Gym trainer gets house land and bans from late doctor's wife estate. This country is a very interesting place to live in. But anyway, tuanze kwanza na Ladama Olekina. Nimeona Ladama Olekina amechange tune jana baada ya kuonana na baba. Hey. My friend, wakili.
Yes, sir.
What is it with stands and how people change them every day for convenience purposes?
I've run into Ladama a few times. I remember my first encounter up close with Ledama was in Bomas in November last year during the launch of BBI 1. And he was sitting among the Tangatanga, what you call the Tangatanga MPs, because they had sat in a corner, the MPs that were supposedly opposed to the draft. And he was one of those people who were saying that, shouting that BBI 1 document was faulty. Then afterwards, I remember he had a change of heart. I remember during BBI 2, during the BBI consultative forum in Narok, he made very sensational allegations, claims. I mean, he is a typical politician, and I respect him. Be that as, for whom he is anyway. Yes.
All right. So what do you make of it, Lucia? Kidogo he had problems, alikuwa anasema watu wakulima pastoralists hawajangaliwa, our proposals in BBI were not factored in the proposals that they gave in Narok, and then suddenly now he's saying niliona pia Magaya amesema there's nobody who ever lived as good as Baba, and he was ranting the other day.
Oh,
I'm saying Ledama has changed too. Anyway, he's supposed to come onto the show. We talked yesterday, so we don't want to bash him so much. But anyway, let's look at the ideological part of this conversation.
I love Ledama. I love Ledama because I used to think he wasn't a pushover. I'm yet to change my mind, but I don't strongly believe so anymore. I wouldn't know why he's changed tune, but as we can imagine, pengine political life yake iko kwa ICU, HDU unit, so he has to take care of it. This is the sad thing about our politics, that they're still pegged on an individual. And if you don't pay homage to that individual, then you basically have no political life or career. And until a time when we separate our politics from personalities, I think we are still going to go on with this trend. And Gerald, this just goes to show us that politicians are not looking out for our interests. It's just their own selfish gains and interests. Because if I was really looking out for the interests of Wanjiku, I shouldn't change my stand because the interest of Wanjiku hasn't changed. I should continue with the same stand. But you see, when our interests haven't changed and theirs have changed, then there's no loyalty to us.
I don't actually want us to break down this document even before we look. First of all, Raila has changed tune and he's saying he's ready for amendments on BBI. How does that make you feel? Because as you were saying, there's no amendments. You had the time to bring in some, but it looks like there's a lot of it in the kitchen, in the BBI kitchen. Looks like everybody is saying, no, we are not going to pass this document as it is. Every other faction, the MCAs were there, so the governors were coming in and all that, and I'll get to that. But I think there's a lot of it in the BBI kitchen, and finally they are saying, well, we're hoping for amendments. How is that?
Gerald, even dictators...
And is it even sincere? Because the commissions, I think, has been broken down.
That's the other thing. Even dictators who pima watu. There's a story I was told of a Luo man who kept... postponing the consummation of his marriage in the name of telling the wife that poda pimi. Bado na kupima. Bado na kupima. Kumbe the man had a problem and was afraid of saying he had a problem. nadhani venye hii BBI report ilitolewa, you remember even the launch was not a launch per se. I think baba alikaa chini akaambia ndugu yake Uhuru, poda pimi these people, wacha bado tuwapime tuone venye temperature inaenda. And you see, a lot of voices have come out to dispute. And Gerald, you cannot claim that it is inclusive when we have all these dissenting voices on the side. So in order to make it inclusive, as you're saying, then you have to give those voices what they're saying. Although I don't really think it's going to happen. Tumeambiwa tu hivyo ndio tukue pacified, as in, hey, kumbe it's not a closed door. But it's a closed door. The only reason why we are here, the only reason why we are talking about the BBI report is to expand the executive. That is the only reason why we need a BBI report. Every other thing in this BBI report has been catered for. National ethos iko kwa constitution yetu. Responsibilities and rights iko kwa constitution. Ethic, antagonism and competition. I cannot begin to tell you how many reports of commissions are collecting dust in the shelves. When it comes to divisive elections, so is it. Inclusivity, shared prosperity, corruption, devolution. the heck, they want to change chapter 6 and not one single person has bothered to implement. So where exactly have we found a fault with chapter 6 that we want to amend it?
And okay.
Yes, I actually think it's a time to talk.
Please. And also, now they're saying, Raila's chain tune is saying, okay, let's have a conversation.
Yes.
At first, they said they were hardlining. No, there's no negotiation. Orengo, we have closed the door. Let's move on.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Thank you. We must first agree that there is no single individual with monopoly of knowledge. 2, we must also agree that we all love Kenya equally. So that whether you are in Tanga, whether you are holding brief for deputy president, or you are a Raila Odinga diehard, or you are a President Kenyatta diehard, we all love this country equally. And political persuasion cannot make us want to start doubting other person's loyalty. That said, it therefore means that if Kenyans have given views, and other Kenyans feel that those views can be made better, I think we must not close the door on such Kenyans.
Very good.
In the same, that is why, as a party, we are saying that our support for the BBI document is unconditional. Personally, I am also
whether they close or open doors.
Easy. I am also saying at personal level that my support for this document, for this process, is unconditional. But that does not mean that the document as it is, cures everything else. So that there are places, clauses that can be made better. For instance, when you come to youth representation, you realize that representation of young people, especially in legislative bodies, is not captured in this document. As a party, we have communicated the same, and I've quietly done a memorandum to the secretariat, telling them that, hey, the needs of young people are these, and if you permit me to list them, that a young person needs education, a young person needs training, a young person needs skill set development. The 4th one is representation, and the 5th is employment. Those are the 5 primary needs of a young person. So that you cannot say that you want to legislate about young people while you have not deliberately made provisions on how to ensure that the voices of young people are anchored in those spaces. The people from the pastoralist community were talking about Livestock Development Authority. Well, that is a legislative process or administrative process, something that can be done administratively. So that one thing I'm saying is that let us make sure that we enrich this document because it is not cast on stones, if and when there are superior ideas. But then because some of these suggestions are policy and administrative processes, I think they can be implemented as we go ahead with the referendum. All
right. Now, before I want to, in the next phase, I want us to break down.
Sorry, I forgot to mention something about the chapter 6 that my sister says that no one has implemented. Truth is, if we are talking about this document, we must first do what is called comprehensive interpretation. Or a holistic interpretation, so that you don't read it like a Bible, where you say Hebrews 11:1 and faith is substance of things hoped for, and you stop there. No, you must look at it holistically, at how the task force, in its wisdom or lack of it, suggested constitutional changes, legislative changes, administrative changes, or policy changes. So that when you look at it holistically, and you also get in this process with good faith, as all human engagements should be, then you will understand the genius of BBI. On chapter 6, chapter 6 set the bar so high on integrity. Where the mistake took place was in 2012, the time when the late Senator Mutula Kilonzo was ejected from the Justice Ministry and he was replaced with Omalwa. Ask me what happened. The thing is that the draft that had been developed by by Mutula Kilonzo was then trashed, and then they watered it down and brought amendments that have ensured that drug lords and thieves and fat cats are roaming our streets, right? And we've also, at a party level, we are also keen on Chapter 6. We've done a memorandum that we must ensure that we have reenact the Leadership and Integrity Act to accord and respect with what the Chapter 6 says. Because, you know, the Constitution is a skeleton. Flesh comes from acts of parliament. So that if you have a weak act of parliament, there is no way you are going to implement Chapter 6. So my sister, if we reenact Leadership and Integrity Act, you shall be sorted. As my
and he's smelling while telling you that.
Yeah,
anyway, in the next class we're going to break down. I want us to break down the BBI.
Please.
I want us to break it down and look at it very critically, analytically. Before you go to that, the other day the president came out, guns blazing, and he said, I'm banning all the political gatherings for, is it 60 days? 60 days. But then again, akasema anafanya town, anaruhusu town halls ziendelee. The other day I saw rallies in Nyeri, Kiambu, that was running on. How does that make you feel? It's because it is a country where the president, first of all, has disobeyed orders, political order, court orders. He has disobeyed the constitution, where he has been ordered to do things. He has done the opposite. Now it has gone to a point whereby he speaks on a national platform and people do the opposite. And the other people sit with them in cabinet. The people I saw, which one, the other guys running a meeting in Kiambu, they sit in government together. Probably even before that press, they were sitting together and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We saw these rallies happening. Lucia.
Yes.
What's going on in this country?
First and foremost, when the president alituongezea curfew, decide this year tunapigia nduru ya new year kwa manyumba. He also said,
lakini ametusaidia, kuna watu wanadanzingi na mabibi zetu ndio apate kampuni. Sio atadanza nani mwaka hii?
Mwaka hii una dance na bibi yako kwa nyumba yako.
That is fair enough.
So the president stood and huffed and puffed and blew like he always does. And then akaenda kufanya zile vitu anaendanga kufanya baadaye. But he said one thing. He said it is important for us to call out our leaders when we notice that they are not observing the measures that have been put in place. So, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, shame on you for not obeying the COVID-19 measures put in place. Shame on you. I'm ashamed that you're my president, and I'm calling out your bullshit today. You need to drink the water that you're preaching. Shame on you. Anyway, I get very angry every time I realize or I remember that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is my president. I get very, very mad, Gerald. I'm pissed because one, he's turned this country into a circus. He has ridiculed us. Ametudharau. Like he simply just I don't know how he sleeps at night. I really do not know. I look at a president the way I'd look at a father. I'm a Christian, so to those who subscribe to Christianity, you say, they say that a man is the head of a family. And Gerald, I'm always saying that we need to complement each other as both genders. So when the man is the head of the family, it is the man who's supposed to give direction. A wife will follow you only if you're giving direction. And if this wife is a woman of God, a woman of God is not about to follow a man without direction. So as a man, you have to have direction, and then you have to lead. When I look at our president, I do not see these two things. Him being the Christian that he is, I do not see leadership in him, and I do not see direction in him. He stands for nothing, and therefore he falls for everything. Everything that comes his way. So Big Four agenda, how is the Big Four agenda entrenched in the BBI? So unaona alikuja akatupatia direction ya kwenda huku, after a while akatupatia direction ya kwenda kule, after a while sasa ametupea direction ya kurudi kule tunatoka. He's all over the place. He's just all over the place. I'm feeling sorry for his wife. at this point. I really am.
There's something you mentioned, and even has given it to you. There's something you mentioned about your stand in KANU. Unconditional, but yes, let's have a conversation around it. The question is, my good friend, Kidi, we are saying, okay, we want to build a consensus because this country belongs to all of us. It does not belong to ever, because leadership is transitional. You can be in power today, tomorrow you're not there. You've mentioned something which is very key. And I think this is what politicians should talk about. Yes, we want this to be done. But let's have a consensus, let's have a conversation. So the president comes in and says he's banning all the political meetings, but allows certain political meetings. Where does that leave the country?
Well, one thing is that I believe in respectful engagement. I am not sure if shame on you is a respectful language. I wish that as we engage, we are more respectful in our language. Be that as it may, that is a mistake. That after issuing these directives, that folks have still been able to still continue with other activities contrary to these clear directives. That is a misnomer, and let agencies with the capacity to deal with such mistakes kick in and do what they got to do. That is what I would say. Yes.
So you're comfortable, you're not comfortable with something? Because it's BBI meeting.
He's playing.
You're being apologetic.
He's playing legal politics.
I am not apologetic to anything. One thing I've said is that we are a country that has institutions. We have the police, the CI, so that I don't think that you should hold the president liable for that, for mistakes of other politicians.
But you said these guys were kicking property the other day on Thika Road in a club. They destroyed property worth 700,000. Yes. Why are we not kicking these properties in these BBI rallies and saying the president banned and gave directions? Why? Yes. Why are we being apologetic to politicians?
Yes.
And this is a conversation we must have, Kidi.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid to bring this up because this is our country. We are young leaders. And we cannot allow such kind of, because this thing will be made against you tomorrow. Yes. Someone will profile you tomorrow because you disagree with them and they punish you for that. And then the other people, you'll see me gallivanting around doing the same things you've been punished for.
Yes.
What kind of a country are we building?
Let me say this. In the words of the famous French writer and thinker, Francois Marie, otherwise known as Voltaire, who said that I may disagree with what you say, but I'm prepared to fight to death for your right to say it. I may disagree with certain people in the political landscape, but then I think that one thing we must never depart from as a country is equality before the law. So that let people who are pro-BBI and anti-BBI enjoy equal protection of the law. Because that is a critical building block in a constitutional democracy. And all these things we are engaged in politically is an attempt to make sure that we have a better constitutional democracy that is able to carry the aspirations of everyone. Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Kidi, just a minute. You believe in our constitution, yes? The Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Yes.
Article 131 of the Constitution of Kenya speaks on the authority of the president. Let me read sub-article 2. The president shall respect, uphold, and safeguard this constitution, safeguard the sovereignty of the republic, promote and enhance the unity of the nation, promote respect for the diversity of the people and communities of Kenya, and ensure the protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms and the rule of law. Now let me ask you this question.
Yes.
A president who does not respect the constitution, does not respect his job description, does not respect the diversity of the people of Kenya, does not respect the opinion of the people of Kenya, how then should we respect a man who does not respect himself and the people who elected him to rule them? That kind of man deserves no respect, and I feel no shame shaming the president because he needs to be shamed. He's behaving like a rich, spoiled kid that he is.
Well, you have said what would ordinarily find resonance with an ordinary person in the streets, which is very good.
And that is
But
all that
my
matters.
brother Bitok,
Yes.
you know, you have called us here because you think there is something we know that
Not I think, I know there's something, you know.
yes, that we therefore should come here to educate the man in the streets.
Yes.
Someone who has taken his time to watch us. So that I don't think it is proper and just if any one of us wants to thrive on outrage. Right? Any charlatan can thrive on outrage. But it takes a polished soul to move away from outrage and have a sober look at issues, right? I must say that I don't speak for State House or for the Jubilee Party or for the President, so I will not attempt to even hold brief for them, right? And because in the process of governance, a few things may occasionally go wrong. So that I think that question, which is legitimate, that my sister is raising, should not be answered by Kidi Mwaga. Yes.
But at least Kidi Mwaga will try and get to the right
Kidi
places.
Mwaga has an opinion.
Kidi Mwaga is in a collision with the government. So
and you
he will
know,
try and help us pass it.
in me saying all this,
Yes.
I'm informing Kenyans what the Constitution says,
Yes.
how they need to hold their leaders accountable,
Yes.
because there is the bar.
Yes.
It's written there in the Constitution.
Yes.
You can't tell me
Yes.
if you employ a house girl and you lay out her job description and for 5 years she does not do her job, anakuja tu kushinda amekuambia stories, and then on the 5th year he says, now nime decide to fanya handshake, nimeandika hii document, I now think it's all going to be rosy from this
I
point
disagree
onward.
by the simplistic approach of making our governance look like, you know,
You see, here-
handling of a house help and whatnot.
Here
I
is
refuse.
the problem.
But
Here's
Kenyans
the
ourselves and
problem.
the other guys. I mean, governance is for the Kenyans. It's not for the
And you
elites.
see,
No, as much as it is not for the elites, but then, you know, I find that a tad too simplistic. So that
All right, let's roll it. Let's roll this.
Okay, bring it on.
Let's roll
The
this. Let's roll
problem
this.
with our learned friends is that they like complicated words. When you want Mama Mboga to understand what you're saying, my friend here will say, oh, you're being too simplistic. How do you expect Mama Mboga to understand Article 73, Sub-Article 1, Part 2 of the Constitution?
I don't even understand. I'm not Mama Mboga. Anyway, let's roll it. Let's
Let
roll
me
it.
say this. Let me say this.
As we roll it, let's roll it.
No, before we roll it, must have the right of reply. Right?
You're not even requesting. You must.
No, I must.
He's a true lawyer.
My sister,
Jurisprudence.
my sister has made the allegations she's raised, the claim she's raised. Truth is, Ndugu Bitok, it is easy to appeal to your darker angels than to your better angels, right? And we find ourselves, you know, BBI was appreciating that certain things have gone wrong, right? Since I became an adult who goes to the polling booths to cast his vote, apparently President Kenyatta has never enjoyed my vote, right? But then, because...
But you have enjoyed this. Anyway, let's continue.
Right? But then now, in an attempt to make our country better, because you can't say that President Kenyatta doesn't love this country. He loves this country as much as you do, right?
I can't know, because we don't have a meter for measuring the love of the country.
I mean, he's a Kenyan, so definitely...
When we go by the track record, it's a no. He doesn't love this country.
Right. Let's roll it, guys. Let's roll this.
Okay.
Let's roll this. All right. So in the next session, what we do is, first of all, we look at the interests of the politicians, and then we break down the BBI report. Where is the Mwananchi in this whole thing? So the other day they opened the door. They said, okay, MCAs, governors, kujeni tuangalie maneno ya BBI. What came out of Naivasha yesterday? The MCAs are asking for one, pension. And they're saying they want to be equal. The governors and the MCAs are saying we want pension, just like the members of parliament and the president. That's what they said yesterday. After all the Rakas and Ulabalus, Movenpick, they had a meeting in that revolving hotel the other day. They went to Naivasha on taxpayers' money to have a conference. What came out of the demands has nothing to do with the Mwananchi. We want pension as MCAs. What's MCAs on about? A degree, remove the degree requirement on the electoral rules. Number two, us and governors, now they have intertwined themselves. Now they are Siamese twins. They're saying MCAs and governors, we want pension, just like MPs and the president. You know, I was imagining that this consensus, when it is open, to be about the Mwananchi. Like maybe in my region as a governor, I come from an asphalt county. How can we make the lives of these people better? As an MCA, probably I would say, well, we want to deliver more money to the ward level, so maybe make the ward levels a development unit. I expect such conversations. But now he's someone who is on his last term, 1 year left, asking for pension and removal of degrees. Where is the interest of Mwananchi?
You know, my brother Bito, you realize that one thing is that the political class has consistently failed the people of Kenya. Because, for instance, Parliament, every time there was a chance came to disburse money to the counties, it usually sided with the executive and the treasury in frustrating that disbursement of money. And that is why people of Kenya have decided to cure this menace by increasing the allocation to the counties to 35%, right? But then, if and when we had a proactive political class, right, we would not have had to go that direction. The interest of Kenyans, you know, Article 1.1 says that the sovereign power belongs to the people. Because, so that when they elect the political class are, you know, exercising that sovereignty on their behalf. The tragedy is, more often than not, that does not happen. Yes, and that is why some of these, the amendments that are being suggested, we may have to ignore and push and bulldoze our way forward. Yes.
Okay. All right. What does that make you feel, Lucia? Because I was actually picking that from what you mentioned about the interest of politicians in Libya. Because I think this document is good for the politicians and not for the Mwananchi. And every time we want to have a conversation, it's about them. It's not about us.
Yeah, I think the politicians need to call Trump so that they can agree on how Trump will ask Biden to implement the BBI in the United States of America. They need it more than we do at this point. And this is what I was saying, Gerald. The actions of our leaders, when they are watching out for their interests, tend to have a negative repercussion to us as common Mwananchi. So when MCAs and governors want a pension, then this means, Gerald, you're going to have to be taxed more so that your pesa ya kuwalipa your pension ipatikane. So you're saying it does not concern Mwananchi. It concerns Mwananchi, but in a negative way, because sasa hii ni mzigo kwa Mwananchi. I would expect that when these guys sat down, we'd be talking, you know, it's the rainy season. We'd be talking about the perennial flooding that comes.
Even my governor didn't talk about maize, but
I know, Bana. You know, farmers.
Maize right now is 1,500 shillings per bag.
Farmers are crying, and that's a loss, Gerald. You know, yeah, that's a loss for 1,500 a bag. That's a loss. It costs you about 1,800 to just produce that one bag of maize. So you see, the things that are concerning us are not the things that are being represented. So when they say that the BBI is pro Wanjiku, I really don't see it. Kwa sababu MCA kupewa pension inasaidia Wanjiku na nini. And I know these guys are about to throw us the line of, when the leadership is content, they can lead better. But our leadership is amongst the best paid leadership in the entire world, and they're not serving us better. They have never served us better. So much so that we are so used to their crap, we don't even know what being served by a leader means, because that's a privilege we've never had. I'm telling you, Gerald, ile siku wa Kenya watakuwa na servant leader, hata pia si tutakuwa tunakaa tunajishuku. Tutakuwa tunajishuku sana, because we will not be understanding what's going on. Like, yani unamaanisha huu mjamaa anataka kutufanyia vitu poa bila kukuwa na ka intention hapo kando. You know, it's going to be a show. It's like when you find a good boyfriend who does not cheat on you, he allows you to check his phone. Unajua like, ebe, uko sure unataka niangalie simu yako? Uko sure unataka nisome hizo message za WhatsApp? You know.
Wanasema ni kubaya ambako kukua kuzuri unauliza ni nini mbaya.
We know, because you sons of Nebuchadnezzar can never. So
hapo sasa umetumaliza.
We don't have leaders.
We need a affirmative action. We need a affirmative action. We now need a affirmative action.
We don't have leaders in this country. We have racketeers and criminals sitting in government. Because if we had leaders in this country, Gerald, they would not be thinking about their pension. In any case, they'd be saying, watu wetu wameteseka sana. How can we cushion themselves? I'm earning a bit more now that I don't have to do ABCD or go to place ABCD, or now that we are in this situation, I can take a pay cut here, a little pay cut here, and a little pay cut there, just to enable my constituents to be able to have a service that they can rely on. None of that has been said. You're crying every day you don't have food. The BBI report has not talked about how we shall distribute the surplus that is in our food basket and take it to the areas where we don't have enough food. That has not been said. We have all these institutions talking about devolution. Ministry of Health has been devolved to the counties. Ministry of Water and Irrigation too has been devolved to the countries. But then look at all the two sub-parastatals within those ministries. If these functions have been devolved to the counties, why is it that we still have so much control at the national level, and the BBI report has not touched on that? Nothing on that. So you see, imeshika tu mahali ni band-aid inaweza ekwa ufungwe ka elastoplasto, mama pole usilie sana there baba, here is a sweet, you'll feel better tomorrow. But nothing touches on the critical issues that we need to be managed right now in order to get us out of the hole that we are in. He said that his party is working on an export economy. None of that has been mentioned by the BBI report. I'll tell you something interesting.
That is a party thinking. Not in the BBI.
Yeah, but then you see, when we are told that the BBI is pro-Wanjiko, shouldn't that be one of the things that should be included here?
One thing I must say, and permit me to quote the words of the late Kwame Nkrumah, that seek ye first the political kingdom, and all else shall be given unto you.
No, wait. Right? I have not finished. I have not finished speaking.
Okay, let Lucia finish. That you can give your agenda.
You toil and you struggle. Unapanda tea. You toil and you struggle. Unapanda coffee. Inapelekwa mnadani huku. Then it's sold maybe for 10 or 15 shillings more than what you the farmer was paid. Alafu inapelekwa Europe, alafu inarudishwa Kenya, unakuja kuinunua kama Dormans at 6 shilling a sachet, na ni wewe uliipanda. And your 6 shillings is not even the amount you got paid per kg of that coffee. It doesn't make sense. And the BBI report has touched nothing on that. And yet we are here shouting of how we are an agrarian economy. How? Where? When? Why?
Let's go happy. Hi, wakili.
Thank you. One,
the political
from the outset, let me say that it is easy to point fingers rather than point out solutions. And it seems that it is something that has gotten into the psyche of a lot of Kenyans. One thing is that our political architecture, as it is, has not served us. If anything, it has put us in a situation whereby those who get themselves in office think about the next elections and how to manipulate it to the detriment of everybody else. For instance, truth is, had Jubilee government honored its pledge to the people of Kenya in 2013-2017, we would not have been here, right? But the thinking in that government was that, was short-term thinking that rewards greed and mediocrity. Greed and mediocrity because you realize that the president and the deputy agreed to have 50-50 share in government, right? Then someone having his 50% share of government makes sure that all the ministries and subsequent parastatals are cash cows, right? so that for instance, the debacle of Eurobond, which has led us to the economic uncertainties we are in, was that short-term thinking of the Jubilee government in the first term, right? So that is why we are saying that we must fix our politics. We must fix our political institutions to be able to carry the aspirations of Kenyans. Let's say President Kenyatta had good intentions, like we are now talking about through the BBI process. Why was he unable to fulfill them in the in the first term? And I will tell you this, that the political equation as it was denying him the latitude or the breathing space to do anything without the involvement of the deputy. So that is why we are saying that let us fix our politics so that whoever we then give our mandate, right, if as a president or in whichever capacity is able to implement the promises they give us without being blackmailed because of how our politics is designed. Yes.
All right. As we notice the next now, I have a suggestion, and I know you guys are comfortable.
Yes.
Wakili, you support BBI, right?
I do.
You support. Lucia, do you support BBI?
No, I don't.
All right. So in the next session, we are going to unpack the BBI.
Okay.
First of all, we'll start with you, Wakili.
Yes.
You'll tell us what is good in BBI.
The quick gains.
Yes. You'll give us the quick gains. Talk about inclusion. You talk about let's talk about 7 year whatever the tax breaks. Let's talk about help. All those things that you think you support the BBI for. Okay. And then we'll switch it to Lucia. Now she'll tackle the proposals that you think are right and what can be done better.
I think we start with Lucia.
No, we cannot start with we have to start with the proponent. What are the things that you think are right with the BBI? Okay. Then we'll move. But it will be a conversation. It will be a conversation that we will interchange. If you feel there's somewhere you need to interject on a part, or maybe to give a rejoinder, then that will be open for that. But before we go to that, Roger, tuangalie comments. Let me read all the comments. Kidogo ambazo ziko. Let me start from all the way up. Justice Rutumaya sema discipleship is also followership. Caroline sema Kidi Mwaga following. Elon Murunga sema watching from Kakamega. Moses Tala sema I can agree with my brother. These guys are just after safeguarding their interest, intimidation, but because he's watching. Lagadi sema morning. Asagongi bloga sema Uhuru ni munyonge. Anajipata kwa uongozi. Alijipata kwa uongozi. Is what the ganja farmers call, this is your customer. Akona noma kwa homa yake. Abbas Jiguna anasema we know where KANU is connected. Don't blame Kidi. Legends would understand this. Abraham Ruth anasema watching from Eldoret. Asante sana Abraham, thank you so much. Moses Ptala anasema angalia Trump kan anashindwa, what next? People should tread carefully. I think mambo ya leadership and all that with transition utakuwa hapa kesho huko. Gilbert anasema Uhuru Ruta has failed, we are looking for new faces. Moses anasema bam moto sana. Punja anasema Lucia, your debate is immature in terms of respecting leaders. I strongly believe you can debate without abusing leaders. You cannot always abuse the president or any leader for that matter. Your vulgar language reduces your contribution to zero. Invest in emotional intelligence lessons. All right, that's idea kulipa fees. Kile Kiboy anasema watching the show from States. Asante sana Kile Kiboy. Jochi anasema despite KANU failing this country, this guy is very sober. Victoria Chiwa sema who is this Kidi man? Huyu wachie Inoro FM please. We don't need this kind of nonsense in 2020. Naona kila mtu anapata takoli yake. Sasa konge vloga sema Lucia Ayiela is our mouthpiece. Speak sister. If they don't understand the speaker. Steven Audi anasema mimi kama kuna malipo sijui ilikuwa ya nini. Joel anasema Gerald Vito kindly tell Kidi that what he attributed to Voltaire was actually coined by Evelyn Beatrice Hall, who wrote a biography of Voltaire. Right. Asingo Alunga no are very true. I'm ashamed. Eva Jekwe anasema respect the president. Replying to Gilbert Yu and Moses Pala anasema who is the alternative? Please tafadhali, not jingoist. All right. Abdul Liverpool anasema I feel for this beautiful lady, she will be eliminated. Victor Chiro anasema leaders are servants of the people. This man is speaking big words for what? Abbas Nigona anasema I wonder why people are pained when a spade is called a spade. Days of referring to it as a big spoon are over. Emmanuel Kisman now here Kidi. He does not know open full as Kenyatta families and himself messed up. Bro Kidi, please put yourselves in our shoes and feel the pain. How respectful do we do we Uhuru need us to do while there's COVID-19 money and so money when Uhuru is very comfortable? Moses Wanasema, does he respect himself? That is Uhuru Kenyatta. Some people say respect his aunt. Uhuru needs to be repudiated and roasted. He's there that should lead by example. By use you're gonna play and some example my question. Abdul Livupan anasema unye is a joke. But just respect him. He's the president. Joel Arama, Kidi should respect other people's opinion. He doesn't hold the keys to decency or respect. Kidi Mwaga, stop lying to Kenyans. You should be honest to yourself first. Richard Michael Oberesem, I don't know if the extortion going on by the police on Musk gets its way into president so that he continually puts the country on these shenanigans of curveys. Can they just look around in TZ and Uganda? Moses Twala, my idea, they can dare of the plan. Heavenly defended, divinely protected. Angels have been despised. Obviously, angels were Trump were from Africa. They are calling angels from Africa. Nasikia walikula fair. Omondi Makomondi asema Kidi Mwaga is a polymath. I think that should mean an informed person. Moses Twala asema, yes, I am. Assurance covers the blood of Jesus. I'm doing God's work by speaking truth to power. He's got my back. Hallelujah. Nikitoka unajua bishop mtakuwekelea mikono. Please control and regulate the debate. The use of the word stupid is reducing the credibility of the show. All right. Remember what Boniface Mwangi said the other day. The demands by MC and governors lays bare his statement. That's all about the politicians. But I can see I've observed you also. This is vampires. George Kijasema, when someone brings God, the argument is as good as done. Just an excuse on God is God that. George Kijasema, why is maize students special in this country? Can we change the way we eat to solve the problem? Jesseba Richard said, the BBI is purely politicians' outfit. It sucks when they misuse quality time and resources trying to focus on their self-centeredness and hypocrisy. Let them go home. We shall have a better government after this. Sakon Kibloga said, George Kenyanju is someone with sense as long as last. God's cause is crap but losers order to stake the believers to abandon their critical thinking. Bro, it's an example which while touching agriculture as a whole, take it easy. Abbas Njuguna Asema Wanjiku would have herself to blame. How many times does he need to be told BBI is not us? I think she should understand better when she starts funding the new government formation through taxation. Victoria Sema, this man interjects and then proceeds to say something very useless. We talk, tell Kidi to respect and let the lady speak. This is a lawyer or a liar. What the heck? Good morning. Good morning to you, Dinasias. Sultan Aritumbi following from Juja. Franco Kips asema BBI ya leaders watuletee tuangushe sana asubuhi. Ibrahim Katana anasema KANU. Anji Boilo anasema I like how Lucia articulate issues, brave girl. Kimutachi anasema watching from Italy. Lucia made a mature argument. This government is killing us slowly. Gibson Mondet Gibson anasema hello Gerald. Go hello Gibson. Anasema Gerald bitoki your number ya WhatsApp. I must call in today. I'm going to give you the number shortly. Ibrahim Katana anasema Ole Katiana Ibrahim from Kajiado. Tell Kidi good guy but wrong party. Geoffrey anasema you know we Kenyans they don't see the same suffering and all the same things that you will get on vote. Maximum anasema Kidi wajinga walisha Kenya. Lynn Victor anasema Kidi where is Senator Kidi? Alienda wapi siku hizi? I've had yes. Ochieng Kangoja anasema Kidi Mwaga good brain, good character and soul. Right. Max anasema young such mind should listen to what we are saying. This party line is an old way of doing things. All right.
Gerald, before we proceed, here's to the person who says that I've abused the president. The phrase "shame on you," according to the Macmillan Dictionary, means telling someone they should feel guilty for doing something wrong. According to Merriam-Webster, it says used to say that someone should feel sorry for doing something wrong. I think the president should feel sorry for disobeying the rule of law, and I'm not ashamed to tell him shame on you again. And it's not an abuse. So maybe huyo mtu ndo anafaa kurudi shule akajifunze English. There's nothing. It's within my constitutional rights to hold my president accountable and to also call him out. And he actually said it himself, Mr., that we should call him out if we see him not doing the right thing. So telling him shame on you is within my constitutional rights. It's not an abuse. Kindly go learn your English.
These countries are very interesting countries. At least we happy. Ndio zingine naanga tuko mbali lakini kumbe tuko mbele sana.
Yes.
Kama ingekuwa Tanzania sasa ungekuwa na apologize mara 7 kwa siku. Yes.
God.
Yes, good.
I want to respond to my brother who says that I am in the wrong party. That looking at all these political formations,
yes,
you realize that there is no fundamental departure one from another. So that they are just vehicles.
They are the same crooks.
Yes, that folks went to.
Same monkeys, different forest.
Yes, to find spaces for them. And because, for instance, you go to Kenya and you find Martha Karua and you remember 2007 election skirmishes, then you go to, let's say, URP before it disbanded and you find William Ruto, and I mean, there is no difference. So that is why some of us have decided not to go to some fringe parties without history. We've decided to come to KANU so that over and above everything else, we can also confront that past that everyone seems to be keen to run away from. Yes.
All right. Sasa tuingie kwa BBI.
Asante.
Sasa hapa ni mahali pa tackle after tackle. Tuanze na wewe. Give us as a proponent of BBI. Can you throw your gains?
Thank you.
Yes.
I want to be very brief and very quick.
And give us
the first one.
You block them into, maybe if it's governance, you break them down.
Constitutional,
Yes.
okay. From the constitutional perspective or constitutional changes, I think amendments, allocation to the counties from 15% to a minimum of 35% is a great gain. Secondly, is that because that is going to ensure that we spur economic development in the grassroots. Secondly, is that our governance structure is not being expanded, as a lot of folks have been saying. That is a gross misrepresentation. It is actually being restructured to suit our unique circumstances.
That is inclusion.
Yes.
Okay.
So that it is not expansion, but it is making sure that we have homegrown solutions. We saw how the Grand Coalition served Kenyans effectively. And that is why I support this restructuring of the executive. That is at the constitutional level. Very quickly, at the administrative level, at the legislative level, there is the bills that needs to be implemented. One of them is the bill on payment of pending bills by the national and the county governments. That is going to go a long way. The other one is on the tax break given to young entrepreneurs. And also the 4 years break given to young people who are finishing college. Yes. And very quickly, I think those are quick gains that we can't run away from. Yes.
All right. So you've talked about the expansion of the executive. You said it's inclusive. That's inclusion.
Yes.
And also to serve the people better.
Yes.
You've mentioned about the devolution. That is an increase of money from 15% to 5%.
Yes.
You've also talked about the tax breaks, 7 years tax breaks on entrepreneurs.
Yes.
The startups. You've also talked about help.
Yes.
Yes. And then what else?
I've mentioned that so that I'll mention others
as you proceed. All right.
Yes.
Lucia, you've had the list that have been given.
Yes. So I have a couple of issues with the things that he's supporting. I don't know if I should respond to that first or just go with the issues that, because they're intertwined.
I think what you do first is break down what he has listed.
Okay.
What he has given. Maybe do you agree with them that first of all the executive expand is inclusive, is about inclusivity?
I don't.
Let's talk about all those things that he has listed. Then maybe you can also give us your
When it comes to inclusivity, I think because inclusivity was given as a way of dealing with divisive elections, I think the problem diagnosis is right. The solution that is being given is wrong, totally wrong. I think the solution that we need for divisive elections is an electoral body that is strongly independent, whose capacity has been developed and built. And we also need free, fair elections that are transparent and very simple. I think that's going to solve the issue of divisive elections, not giving a position to a loser or anything. If I were to give an example, so right now, should Trump be expecting to be given a position, an office of official opposition in the government because he's lost? No, it doesn't work like that. In any case, there has to be a winner and a loser. For you to be here today, you're the winning sperm. There's another sperm that lost somewhere, and I don't think I don't think your father created space for an opposition sperm. Whatever we are trying to do with this.
This is not a shared time. This is not shared time. This is 10 a.m. It's 9:30 a.m. in the morning.
It goes against nature. on the issue of devolution, especially revenue allocation, there is nothing that is preventing anyone from increasing that revenue allocation right now. We don't need the BBI report. If the president really had the goodwill, one day he will just wake up, sit down with the senators and governors and whoever else is concerned with this issue of revenue allocation, and just have a discussion with them and then give them a directive. What is so difficult in that? Oh my God, tax breaks and HELB. Now, there is an assumption that has been made in the BBI, and this is why I think if there was a young person in the task force, this assumption wouldn't have been made. So the BBI first assumes that the Youth Enterprise Development Function, the Youth Enterprise Development Fund is working. It also assumes all these other empowerment structures that have been put in place to enable entrepreneurship are working. The BBI report assumes the entrepreneurial space is conducive for businesses to thrive in the first place before you can be given a tax The BBI report assumes it's easy to actually start a business in this country, which is not. And when you put all these things into consideration, you then understand that the number of young people who are starting businesses is very low, extremely low. So giving us a tax break rather than increasing our capacity to be able to get into that business space makes no sense for me at all. When you come to the HELB moratorium, you're given a moratorium for 4 years. Gerald, I can tell you, after I finished campus, I tarmacked. I tarmacked for about 6 years before I finally just went like, okay, this employment thing maybe is not for me. Let me go do something else. So you're giving me a moratorium for 4 years. The least amount of time people tarmac in this country is about 7 years, 7 to 15 years. So how has that 4 years helped, really? You know, and education is a right that has been given to us in the Constitution. When you say that you're educating a generation so that they can be future leaders of the country, you're educating this generation so that it can benefit Kenya. So why is it that we have to pay for education? Yearly, we lose 600 billion to corruption every year since 2013. 600 billion. Ever since inception, the total amount of HELB loans comes to 7 billion alone. We can afford to write off Mumia's sugar as a bad debt, yet we cannot afford to write off HELB loans as a bad debt to educate the future of our country. It's a misplaced priority. Now, when I come back to saying why I do not agree with the BBI report, first and foremost, because it's a plagiarized constitution. I don't believe it's going to be implemented effectively, even if we said yes to it. The lack of goodwill to implement anything in this country nullifies anything good that might be in this document, because we know that if it is good for us, it's never going to be implemented. Never, ever. And this is a track record we've had for over 50 years. So we are 100% sure on that. Another thing, when you want to centralize power back to the president so that ukitaka kushuta lazima uombe rais msamaha, it takes us back to where people fought so hard. This constitution was fought for a period of over 30 years. What is the rush to amend it when we've only implemented 25% of it? Why can't we say let's implement 70% of it, and let's actually implement the part that deals with corruption the most, because we understand our single problem in this country is what, Gerald? Corruption. So when this document avoids dealing with the issues that will get us out of the shithole that we are currently in, and wants to put a band-aid on issues that do not matter to us as common mwananchi, issues that do not affect my day-to-day economic gain, then it makes no sense to me. It feels like a political instrument that has been meant to favor some people, and these people who are being favored by this political instrument are now trying to manufacture consent from the public to make their private desires and wishes legal, and it is wrong. It is a drawback to our democracy. It is a drawback to all the gains that were fought for. I think if Senior Kenyatta was to wake up today, he'd actually be disappointed with where his son has gotten the country into, and I'm pretty much sure he wouldn't think the BBI report is the solution either. No matter how bad he was back then, I really don't think if he wakes up today he would think the BBI report is a solution, unless he wants to usurp power in this country.
But if Tomboya woke up, that would be a tragedy.
There is a misconception that BBI is going to create an imperial presidency. That is a serious lie that must be not be left to stand. You know, for instance, today we have the president appointing all other heads of other arms of government, including the judiciary, so that she says that the BBI is going to create a powerful president that, in her words, ukitaka kushuta, you ask for permission from the president.
Basically.
That is a lie. It is a lie because today we have the Chief Justice who was appointed by the president. But then we have the same Chief Justice has made a determination against that sitting president, right? So that in the spirit of saying that the BBI is a good document that can be made better. If you ask me, how do we enhance then judicial transparency and independence so that we achieve two things at the same time? There is an enhanced transparency, and at the same time there is accountability. One, to ensure that the judiciary is independent, we need to create a judiciary fund, which the BBI may not be providing, but that some can be suggested through a memorandum, right? So that because they say that he who has the gold sets the rules. Yes. We've seen what happened between the clash between the executive and the judiciary, and Parliament, siding with the executive to frustrate the judiciary. So that making sure that our judiciary is funded in a manner that is not left to the whims of the political class would go a long way in enhancing that independence. But at the same time, we can't run away from judicial accountability, right? There are instances where judges have colluded with their colleagues and found favorable rulings for themselves to the detriment of public confidence that we, the people of Kenya, have struggled so much to restore in the judiciary, right? So how do we ensure that we vigilantly guard that public confidence in the judiciary? By ensuring that the judiciary is held accountable. And that is the mischief that I think appointment of the ombudsman to the judiciary is going to cure. Yes. So that I think I must also say this. I think it is proper and imperative, incumbent upon us to desist from just bastardizing everything else about this document, right? Yes, and seeing the gains that it is going to take us to, because success does not come in a day, right? Success can sometimes, they say it sometimes zigs and zags, but we make progress nonetheless. So let us look at the progress that this document is helping us make at this point in time.
Kidi, I have a question.
Please.
So the same people who failed to implement the agenda in their manifestos are the same people that we are expecting to implement the BBI report that is going to give us gains. Ama kuna different people who are coming to do the implementation, because I don't understand. There is no Holy Spirit for being a good wife and Holy Spirit for being a good employer or employee. It's the one Holy Spirit. Yes. So when you failed to implement that which you took to the people, ukiomba kura, how then do we trust that you're going to implement this? And here's the thing. How many years has Raila Odinga been in politics? How many years has Uhuru Kenyatta been in politics? How many years has William Ruto been in politics? How many years has Charity Ngilu been in politics? Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula. How long have these people been in politics? I'll tell you how long.
Let me say
it has
this.
been
Let me
more.
say this.
No, wait, I finish. It has been more than 25 years since all these people got into politics. Now let's talk pure policies and implementation of policies.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question before you proceed. Are you trying to say that if they've been in politics more than 25 years, now that makes makes their suggestions irrelevant?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say.
Nullifies their contributions?
If you wait, I finish my statement, you'll understand what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Now, in the 1960s and 50s,
yes,
Taiwan, Singapore, China, Hong Kong, and Kenya were at par. 25 years, 30 years later, look at where Taiwan is, look at where Singapore is, look at where Hong Kong is, look at where South Korea is, look at where China is, and then look at where Kenya is. So where is the goodwill to implement anything that actually moved this country forward when you've been in that space for over 20 years? The time that it has taken other people to transform their economies from low income to high income, yet for you, it has only taken you that long to enrich yourself and your family and to ensure that generations and generations in your lineage will never lack.
Yes. No, let me say this. Ndugubi talk. You know, it is easy to make generalized claims without going into the specifics and interrogating issues. And I think that is where my sister gets it so wrong. Awfully wrong. Awfully wrong because, for instance, she talks about the Asian tigers. Right? These Asian tigers, by the time we were closely getting into the new century, in early 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, the Hong Kong, the Taiwanese economy was 40 times bigger than Kenyan economy. Right? Today, as we speak, we've made progress. We've cut that divide between us and Taiwan by half. Right? But that does not mean that we are on the right track entirely. Still, there are things that can be made better. One thing I would tell you that this government has gotten wrong, right? And the Jubilee 1 and Jubilee 2 because the Jubilee 2 is trying to firefight the mistakes of Jubilee 1, right?
And Zubinasa.
If you call it so. It is not proper and it is not just in a country that prides itself in the League of Nations, right? To have its young people sink in debt because they are pursuing education. So that as a government that is self-respecting must make sure that its young people who are willing to learn and willing to work are able to access that education, access that training, and when they've accessed that training, that they're able to work without necessarily sinking into debt.
All right. Easy. Hello.
So
okay. Hello. Good morning.
Bishop.
Yes.
Morning. How are you?
Fine, sir. How are you?
Fine. Maxwell here. Now, the problem I have is I don't know what is the disability in being a young leader. Because I find young leaders being disabled in their mind, that we don't have independent minds. What my friend Kidi and the man Kidi is just talking a lot of no sense at all in regard to the BBI. Because I think it's enough for him to go and read, understand, and then he makes decisions. Let's stop following people because they have said it is good. So we end up singing the songs of Raila and Uhuru just because we fear for our life. Then, Kidi, you are young. Think like a young person. Think ahead. Stop being disabled in the mind just because you want to look good in front of people. I love Lucia because she uses very hard words, yes, but I think she makes sense out of everything. Yeah? So I think it is time that we need to wake up and say, let's call it as it is. If it is bad, let's say it is bad. If it is good, let's say it is good, not because someone has said. I'm afraid that young people are becoming sick and stickier, if there's any English word like that. FJ. because of our political alignment. We are aligning ourselves with people with no ideas at all. Gideon Moy has no idea. He doesn't know what is going on. But you find ourselves, we are just aligning there. We are just singing a song of Gideon Moy. This guy doesn't have his own mind. And you have a brilliant lawyer, or Idi as he said, or whatever he is, thinking just like Gideon Moy, and he has a very brilliant mind. My friend, spend your time wisely in this world, and you make a difference. Let's stop singing some choruses we don't know. Thank you.
Let me respond to that.
Okay, respond to him. He's still on the line.
And my brother, how are you?
Maxwell, I think he's left. Anyway,
He's
respond to him.
left.
He should be listening, yeah.
One mistake that a lot of young people are making is that they think that if they disagree with a specific leader, then everyone else who works with that person or is...
Let's pick this then. Just a minute. Hello. Let's pick 3 calls then. All right. Good morning.
Yes, Gerald.
Yeah, nazungumza na nani?
This is Meshach.
Yes, Meshach.
2 quick things.
Yes.
I would love to hear which part of the Constitution has not been implemented, because this thing is said a lot. And Lucia even says we have only implemented 25%. And you know, when people listen to something like this, they think you know it all. Is it really true that only 25% of our Constitution 2010 has been implemented? That is one I would love to actually discuss that in detail.
All right,
so
thank
that
you.
Kenyans can actually make judgment and say, yeah, for sure, it looks like 25% is the only one that has been implemented. That is fun. The second one, I don't think the gentleman who has just called is right to say that if you support any other party apart from William Ruto, then you're not using your brain.
He didn't mention William Ruto, actually. You are the one who has mentioned William Ruto.
No, he doesn't have to mention. We like William says, wajinga ni wachache. So we can also share. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that you think like him to make you, now a better person. I don't think that is what we want. I think we want to deal with issues. Himself might be supporting one of these guys. And if he is not supporting one of these guys, then he should be one of them and tell us, follow me, and you will be using your brain well. Even God called the other guys out of Babylon to somewhere, not out of Babylon and then to nowhere. Yeah? So he should tell us out of Babylon to where. Then the last thing,
yes.
My sister and friend, Lucia, if you want to go to Kakamega, and hauna fare, hauna mean, and I'm willing to drop you in Kisumu, I'm now talking about the help moratorium. If you want to go to Kakamega and I'm willing to drop you in Kisumu, and you don't have anything completely, would you say that is so bad? Because after all, I'm going to Kakamega. If you're saying the minimum years somebody would stomach in Kenya is 6 or 7 years, and the government is willing to give 4 years where you don't pay this health loan.
All right, so it is better, I'm afraid. All right, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I am doing okay.
Talk to us.
Buonasera.
Yes, I can see you're calling all the way from Alabama.
Yes.
Okay, talk to us, sir.
So I just have a couple of comments to make. First of all, I applaud Kidi for his gusto to go back to KANU and try to fix it. Kudos to you. But I just want to correct him a few things that I like making corrections where necessary. He's made a statement that really struck with me, that we need to fix our politics. We don't need to fix our politics. We need to build institutional systems that will work no matter who is in power. If you have then all these other noise
Hello, my brother.
everybody else.
You'll
will
respond.
not
Just
even
let him
happen.
say.
My brother.
Yes.
Yes,
All right. So now,
Okay.
just I have a couple of points. If you don't mind, then I can let you respond.
Okay.
Now, based on, I try to read the BBI, coming to the BBI, and I will tie it down to whatever else I'm talking about. I try to read through the document, like the first few pages of the document. I go to page 17 because of projects and everything else. I could finish it. But there's one thing that stuck out to me. And I'm going to state it, and then I will give examples of why this should be tied to it. The statement I want to make is the rule of law. And I'll give you examples. When you come to allocation of funds, things that stuck out with me. Remember the example of Ile wheelbarrow carcinogenic. Somebody spending almost 200,000 to buy a wheelbarrow 5,000. You go to my governor from where I come from, my parents come from where I know is my original home, who built a gate for several millions, while we know the gate is only for 50,000. Now come to the current, the last case that we had with the governor who was supposed to be impeached but was not impeached. But something that came clearly out was that there was a lot of misappropriation of funds. So why do we want to give these counties more money when these people are just simply squandering the money?
Okay.
The Senate is not doing their duty of overseeing the counties. People get away with stealing money, but then we don't even follow the rule of law. Now, he talks about the judiciary and appointing someone to look at the judiciary. We don't need an ombudsman to oversee the judiciary. There is a process called impeachment. We need to strengthen the process of reporting these judges. And I agree with these judges, and I know examples of judges who have been bribed to rule on cases that were clearly supposed to go to the other side. So we need to follow the rule of law. At the end of the day, if we do that, we will be better off than what we are now.
All right.
Now, speaking to my sister, just give me one moment. Just, I have to mention everybody else. So speaking to my sister Lucia, I applaud you with your statements. I applaud your stand. And the people who are saying you're insulting, insulting is when you demean somebody's stature based on statements that are not factual. But shaming a leader to do the right thing is not insulting. It's actually acknowledging that this person can do better than what they're doing.
Okay.
So whoever is saying you're insulting somebody, they have no idea what an insult is.
Wow.
They may need to go and find out a little bit more.
All right. What are we speaking to?
This is Joel Aram.
Arama. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Asante sana. You still have someone else to mention? You have not mentioned me.
Oh, Wanavito.
Yes, sir.
Wanavito, first of all, I appreciate your program. Every now and then I try to catch it. But saa zingine usingizi inanibeba ninalala.
Naelewa ndugu yangu.
Please, but I appreciate your statements. I appreciate your program. Sometimes I feel like you kind of lean a little bit kwa side moja, but it's your show, so I'll let you run where you want. So, but it's good to have this other option, because one of the things that disappoints me with our media,
yes,
and going back, because I follow, Kenya is my country, no matter where I am. Kenya will always be my country. That's my home, no matter where I am.
Okay.
So I really follow closely events that happen in Kenya and what is going on, and some things make me very.
All right.
One thing that I appreciate with you is you don't hold back when you are talking about issues that face our country and our fellow Kenyans.
I really appreciate that.
One of the things that I might want you to ask one time, I remember in the run-up to the last election.
Yes.
And allow me to call him your good friend. He may not be, but I will call him your good friend. Senator Mukomen made a statement that made me almost throw my remote to my mouse to my laptop. That was very ignorant. I will say that. He said that politicians sacrifice the most. But to me, and he was, he was being interviewed on national media. They were having a discussion, and the person in charge, Larry Madowo, just said that slide. To me, the people who have made the most sacrifice are our soldiers who are fighting in Somalia, who have died with no facilities, the money being sent to support them. The politicians are eating that money, and unatuma mtu kuopena kupigana vita, amevaa slippers, and they don't have the proper gear to go fighting. They are putting on slippers. Kazi ya majenerals ni kutafuta makaa Somalia wanakuja kuuza Kenya. So those are the things that you are giving an alternative to this, what we call mainstream media, that all they do is just generate headlines. That's all.
Okay.
They have no substance. They don't speak to the issue that Kenyans say. So I appreciate you for that. And when my brother comes back, Dino Juan, msalimia sana.
Sasa ndugu yangu, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, sir.
I'm very glad for your program.
I really appreciate it. Who am I speaking to?
Martin.
Martin, thank you so much, Martin, for appreciating us.
I want to talk to the Kenyan youth today, especially those that are listening to your program. I'm really in support of what Lucia is saying. And for me, I think, to me, the entire document, the BBI document, is purely rubbish. Yeah. It doesn't address the issues that are facing the Kenyan youth. It doesn't address how we are going to create employment. It doesn't address the issues of how the Kenyan youth that are going through the university, the TVET, and the technical institutions are going to end up after they finish their programs. When you look at the 7-year tax break, you kind of wonder where the Kenyan youth going to get the capital to start the business, considering the fact that they don't have jobs. For me personally, when you look at the health issue, I think it should be a grant. If you look at the total amount of money that the Kenyan youth or people who have gone through campus or the health, it's not more than 10 billion Kenyan shillings. And then you want to use the 14 billion to pass a document that doesn't really address the issues that are facing us as a country, you know. We just have carrots which are being dangled to the youth, and it's unfortunate that up to this point we don't have really strong, energetic Kenyan youth who can really speak up and say, like, you know what, I think we really need to sit down and start addressing really the main issues. And we stop the shenanigans that are happening. We really don't want to invest in like the basic things. When you look at the agricultural industry, which is the backbone of the country, it's at the verge of collapse. When you look at the sugar industry, the maize industry, the coffee industry, the tea industry, the horticultural industry, you'll be saddened. And now we are here running around like, oh, BBI is going to solve the issues that are affecting this country. It's just insane. And I think it's about time, like, we really sit down and really ask our leaders. And I think that idea of forgive everyone who is in government, I think it should come to fulfill come 2022. Because what is happening as a country, we're just going backward. After every 5 years, we make 5 years steps backward. And I don't know, but you know, every Kenyan user who is speaking, they're like paid, they're bought mouthpieces. So they're the ones that are claiming that they want to address the youth affairs, and all in all, they have just been sent some few shillings on their M-Pesa account, and they call the media and they say, you as Kenyan youth, we want to support the PPI. It's just insane. And I really think that we need very strong, vocal, young leaders like Lucia, who are able to call bullshit straight in their face. Okay. And you find that these are the people that are not getting the platform, and we really appreciate a platform like this one, whereby things are being spoken, and there is no fear or favor to any political inclination. And personally, for me, I think the entire document should be I know they want to have us versus them, but for me personally, if that is going to be the case, then I think probably everybody should be on the north side.
Okay.
Because this one is just a self-preservation document whereby Uhuru is thinking of who is going to take care of my interests after 2022.
All right.
Yeah.
Asante sana ndugu yangu. Thank you so much for your comment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, thank you, bro. All right, there's someone who has been called. Sorry, I've missed your call. There's someone who has really called in severally. A number starting from plus 39 371. If your number is starting from plus 39 and then it's followed by 371, I think it's an international line. Sorry, I missed almost 6 of your missed calls. But as I'm waiting for your call, I'll pick your call for that reason. But I'm waiting for your call. I want to read a comment. People have said I read a comment here by Weki Assessor, and it says it's long, so I'll read very quickly. A 31-year-old Fort Science graduate left Kenya to work in Bahrain 1 year after graduation. He learned the art and value of preserving food through electrical and solar desiccation and purchased electric food slicer and kiln machines before the expiry of his contract and returned to Kenya. He was born in a very productive county where a lot of food goes to waste. In April 2017, he contracted farmers to grow organic sweet potatoes, pumpkins, yams, and plantains for him. He registered a business and set up in a small processing unit at his parents' home in Kajiado County, adjacent to Nairobi. He sold his idea to a UN agency which supports MDG youth initiatives, and they gave him a US dollars 2,200 grant. County and public health officials told him that he couldn't run a factory plant in a residential area, and he was forced to relocate his small plant to a rented premise, incurring further cost. Besides county public health, NEMA, KEBS, NCA approval and license fees. He commenced operations in September 2017, but when his products hit the market, he was visited by KEBS and NEMA and some ministry officials who claimed that his packaging was not compliant with their rules. He was advised and wrote letters to the 3 entities. 2 replied, but 1 did not and has never replied. He changed his mode of packaging to include product serialization, batching, and identification for easy source and quality tracking. In mid-2019, he attempted to export some of his products to friends in Bahrain, but customs authorities told him that the semi-processed food items required approvals from 2 other institutions. He abandoned the idea, however, in October 2019. He was visited by fellows from the government agency. We did not respond to his letters. They stopped operations and sealed his premises. He went to court and got an order for reopening of his premises. A month later, fellows from a different agency went to the premises and cut away his machines and equipment. He later learned that the 2 agencies were in cohorts, broke and facing eviction by the landlord and hostility from unpaid farmers. PO abandoned his food processing business and went up country. He is now but a border rider and has zero desire to ever start another business in Kenya. Another notorious agency is now demanding taxes from him after participating in the closure of his business. PO is angry and says that he has no desire or energy to engage the clueless bureaucrat. They can auction him and his machines if they so wish. I don't know if you ever had another sad story than this as a young person.
There are sad stories and Ugubi talk because especially for startups. And that is just one of them. There is the other lady who was bottling water, drinking water, and then her enterprise went under. The existing climate, environment, does not promote entrepreneurship, especially by young people. That is something that needs to be amended. To be restructured. But then change does not come overnight. Change is incremental. And that is why some of us are saying that the 7 years tax holiday suggested in the BBI report is a step in the direction. But that is not all. I must also say that some of the people who are opposing BBI are people who have been in government. Right? And there are people who have used their positions in government to do nothing but to line their pockets. Right? And now, when they are coming out to oppose BBI with the Wilbaronomics, they are doing nothing but self-preservation. Right? So equally them, we must call them out so that if and when they want to come out, they must first own up for their failures while they were in government. They are still in government anyway. Yes.
All right. That is going on. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, how are you?
Hi, Mr. Vitok. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Victoria here.
Victoria, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Victoria, how are you?
Lucia and Wakili, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Now,
Yes.
on what the subject of discussion is, if you look at the issue of health,
Yes.
and then you look at these people who today carry saying we are refunding flour farmers 10 billion shillings. These are things when it comes to them, when it comes to the who is who. These are not things that need legislation. These are things they make decisions and do.
Yes.
So you see an instance where KRA is refunding flour farmers who we know are a majority of Europeans and the deep state being refunded 10 billion. But where are our milk farmers? Where are the farmers that contribute to the food basket in this country? Who is thinking about them? But when it comes to a matter of help, something that they can write off as a bad debt, as Lucia is saying, they want to give us marupurupu vitu kidogo kidogo and then put it in a document and say, oh, we need to change the constitution because of something that can be passed by legislation. Why don't they need to change the constitution on an issue of 10 billion refund to the who is who or to an industry that does not serve the food basket of this country? So we as Kenyans need to start thinking for Kenyans. We need to stop looking at these individuals. We need to stop looking at what is interesting them. Hello?
I can hear you.
And speak for Kenyans. The very future of this country depends on that. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Vicky.
Vicky,
Yep.
before you go away, we must first agree that a good idea gives way to a better idea.
You know, Wakili,
Yes.
you cannot start saying that, oh, things take time. We are talking about a country that is 60 plus years old.
Yes.
The other day, there was an issue of someone who was manufacturing tomato sauce.
Yes.
And I think there was a regulatory body that was all over him saying, oh, this tomato sauce does not have any tomatoes in it. And we were telling them, go and show us the tomato sauce, any tomato sauce in the supermarkets. Go and show us any tomato sauce that has tomatoes in it. There's none.
Or mango
Even
juice
the
with
one
mangoes.
that is being imported from America
Yes.
is made using cornstarch, food coloring, and flavor.
Yes.
None of them has a tomato. But when a Kenyan entrepreneur tries to get into the country, this is the bureaucracy that kills them.
Yes.
Vicky,
When they are importing the same thing.
Vicky, Wakili here keeps saying it takes time. I have just pointed out that we've had politicians in politics for over 2 decades. They should have started implementing these things 25 years ago. They never did. So why are we still saying that it takes time when we can clearly see it's just the lack of goodwill? There's nothing else but the lack of goodwill. I agree, it takes time. If we had started 25 years ago, Wakili, we will be far. We will be so far.
Yeah, we need to see, I think we need to see some sort of progress.
Yes. So,
we need to say that X years ago we were at step 1.
Yes.
And now we are at step 8.
Yes.
Because we've done 1, 2, 3, 4 things.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I hear you. I will make a proper response. Yes, afterwards.
All right. Thank you so much, Vicky.
Yes.
Asante.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much for tuning in and have a good day. And we need to catch coffee, by the way. It's been, I've never seen you in many years.
I also drink coffee.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Vicky. Have a great day. All right. Umesikia mambo ya wananchi.
There's something Meshach said that I want to respond to. Actually, there's 2 things that I want to respond to real quick. Meshach said that concerning the help moratorium, if I was going to Kakamega and someone can drop me at Kisumu, I'd go like, hey, yo, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. You've made my journey a bit easier. But then, why is it that we always have to accept the basic minimum?
Well, politicians being taken to Bungoma.
Yeah, exactly. Why can't we demand better? And this is what I'm saying, Meshach. A 4-year HELB loan moratorium is not bad, but I know, I'm 100% sure that we can do better, and I am demanding better for I and for my peers and for generations to come. I refuse to accept basic minimum mediocrity. The other thing, now, I'm not one to mince my words. If you want me to mince my words, then I would rather not come to the tackle. I think it's about time that we said truth the way truth should be said. It's time for some nakedness, and naked truth is what I'm talking about. And if it is stupid, I will call it stupid. I will call it by any other suitable name that it is, because there's a lot of stupidity that is going on in this country. I refuse to be a pacifist when my country is bleeding and my people are dying because of the arrogance, ignorance, and stupidity of a select few. So it's either you just mute me when I talk or don't listen in at all, because I'm not about to stop calling it the way it is.
All right, as you pick it up Wakili as well. Unaona shida ya vijana ni help ama ni kazi? Because if these guys could be given jobs, they could pay the help on themselves. What's stopping the government from creating jobs?
You know, truth is,
yes,
is that the government, we must say this, has not made necessary investments in the past to make sure that our young people find opportunities for themselves. For instance, you know, state sector jobs cannot employ the young people of this country, especially in the era of Kibakinomics, where we had, you know, expanded access to higher education, and more graduates were coming out. We are told that we release about 2 million graduates every year into the job market. But the government has not made necessary investment to make sure that these graduates land opportunities immediately. In the Jubilee first term, where William Ruto was the deputy president, we had a number of, you know, firms fleeing this market and going into other polities like Uganda and Ethiopia and whatnot, right? So that, one, we need to make sure that we create employment for our young people.
Okay.
That cannot be solved in a single stroke, but then it must start somewhere. That first, let us, those who can, for instance, start businesses. Well, let's say the BBI provides that they will have a tax holiday, but it must not stop there. When the BBI passes or not, Parliament as a legislative body and the cabinet must go ahead and make policy deliberations that will ensure that a young person who wants to start business can start business, can sustain that business. Yes.
Okay. While at it, can you please give us your tackle of the day to Kifunga?
My tackle of the day, wacha nipatie my sister alafu nitarudi.
Okay, jua tackle ni nini? All right. Lucia, anasema anataka kujua kwanza tackle ni nini. Yes, I know, understand. And we are happy to have you.
My tackle of the day today. It's time that Kenyans became angry. It's time that Kenyans became aggressive in demanding good governance and accountability. Personally, Gerald, nimechoka. Leo asubuhi, I couldn't leave my estate in peace because when Outer Ring Road was built, people messed up with the drainage. So when it rains, now my estate floods, something that never used to happen before. So that, if that is not stupidity, I don't know what it is, because there's a flood management parastatal. There's a Ministry of Water. There's a Ministry of Sanitation. There's Nairobi Water and Sewer. There's all these institutions, and and people are not doing their job, and that is utterly stupid. So don't expect me to come here and say, oh, I know government has challenges, that is why we are flooding, that is why it is raining so heavily and we don't have water. New jinga na new shenzi, and it is time we got angry enough to demand better, because we deserve better. We work so hard on a daily basis to pay taxes that are going to pay salaries for people who do not do their jobs. Wakenya, acheni kulala, please. It is time we wake up. It is time we call a spade a spade. Maneno ya kuita spade big spoon, tuliachia watu wa KANU pengine. We are done. We are done with that regime. We are the generation that has no chills. We have zero chills, and we are going to demand what is rightfully ours in the strongest terms and words possible. If you have a problem with it, go and sleep.
Well, I must say that some of us were brought up and taught to be respectful, even in the moments when we disagree. And therefore, I will choose my words carefully, but that must never be misconstrued for weakness. In the famous words of Martin Luther King Jr., in his speech, Why I Am Opposed to the War in Vietnam, he says that before the crown we wear, there is a cross we must bear. Things have not gone entirely right with our governance. If anything, so much have gone wrong. So that if you look at the handshake and subsequent BBA process, in part, it was an attempt to arrest some of those things that had gone wrong. But then it is not conclusive in and out of itself. We still have to make tough choices. We still have got to continue being vigilant. Because democracy works better when the citizenry is vigilant. A vigilant citizenry is what keeps the elected leaders on their toes. When that is said, we are saying that as a government in waiting, Chama cha Baba na Mama KANU, we have made necessary investments to make sure that when we come to power in 2022, the young people of this country are ultimately may be able to smile. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Wakili, for coming in. It's a pleasure to have you. This is the first time. You're always welcome to the taco. These were things I say the way they are. These were things I say the way they are. Because we don't trade with government. Yes. We don't do. We are here to speak the truth, which is not being spoken in the mainstream media. So I hope you enjoyed your time here. We hope to see you again. Yes. There's something I saw yesterday. NMS has a lot of lorries. Yes. Ya maji fresh. Yes. Imeandikwa maji safi by Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Which one is cheaper between piping water and buying lorries?
I think piping water is cheaper.
Piping water is cheaper. Yes.
So why are we having lorries moving around with clean water?
Again, stupidity of misplaced priorities. It's
called PR in our industry. So that was just an observation I made, and I was like, okay, I saw they were lining up in traffic. They were in traffic moving it on, and I was asking myself, why? So a lorry, because government does not buy second-hand trucks, it buys new. So when you buy a new truck all the way with a tank, probably you're looking at 12 million for that truck from Isuzu, probably, whatever it is. How much does it cost to pipe water, which is already in Nairobi? Just getting the pipes, ensuring that there's always water, or maybe even harvesting rainwater.
I know there is a push and shove between the governor and the director general of the NMS.
A competition of PR.
Yes, a sibling rivalry of sorts. So that, for instance, I remember, was it the day before yesterday? Governor Sonko was crying that there is trash around pipeline. I hope that Governor Sonko first is able to appreciate that he was unable to do a good job. And secondly, the arrangement, which of course some of us opposed at the beginning, of having General Badi take over, but because General Badi is now the man in charge, I hope that he's able to combine efforts with General Badi so that they serve the people of Nairobi. Because elections come and go, but the people of Kenya will always be there, and they deserve the best.
So I think we should expect also some reasonable operation from Badi and NMS, so that it makes sense. I mean, it does not make sense to come and duplicate. Because Sonko was doing the same thing. Sonko was moving around with trucks. Why are we not getting a different strategy from NMS?
2 months, was it 2 months or a month after General was given the mandate to manage Nairobi County, he gave a statement and said, I've been wondering why taps in Nairobi County do not have water. Water is a very, very close issue to me. I've spoken about this countless number of times. I'm even about to start turn off Nairobi taps for Nairobi water. I think Sei will help me with this one. But he said, I've realized that a lot of the pipings have been blocked intentionally by cartels so that they can be able to sell water to people. So I was like, oh, here goes someone who has diagnosed the problem. Now, I expected him to say, we are now unblocking these pipes so that
and we are getting the cartels.
Yeah, and we are repairing where they are broken so that water can flow through the pipes into your taps. Oh my God, shock on me. Tanks zimejengwa ati water point, NMS water point, kidogo malori zinazunguka tao, nashindwa rada kwa nini gani. And this is where we go wrong in everything we do in this country. We diagnose the disease,
right, and give the solutions.
No, we start treating the symptom.
Right. Thank you so much guys for coming in. That was just an observation. Tafakari ya Taklas. Jiulize kwa nini kuna lori ya maji Nairobi na kuna maji kwenye tap. Hiyo maji inatoka wapi na kwa nini wasiweke hiyo maji kwa tap? Tafakari ya mlipaji wa nini ushuru. All right, we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us for the discussion event. For the callers, pole kuna simu ambayo sijaweza kuchukua simu karibu 3. Poleni ya Honorable Trip Coast. Tumeshafunga story. Tukichukua simu tena I will be opening another conversation. So pleasure to have you. This is a tackle, and the tackle ends now. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.